Breaking news, the Wild Times crew has got together to bring you a very special story. Lolita, the infamous orca that was at the Miami Seaquarium, who was scheduled to be released sometime in the near future. The poor old bird just croaked. She didn't make it. She did not get to
No,
freedom, which I make light of it, but it's actually pretty sad.
it's
Pour
sad.
one out. Pour one out, man.
Yeah.
57, also known as Taki or Toki. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of controversy going on with this one because, first of all, people think it's a potential conspiracy because there was $20 million allotted
We've
for
been
this.
recording for under a minute and we're into conspiracy.
I'm
No,
just
but
saying.
what is the conspiracy?
Yeah, I don't
So
know anything
20
about
mil,
this.
20 million was allotted to doing this relocation plan to get her back, from her home sea area. And so people are just saying like, hey, that didn't really want to be spent. It looked good on the people that were putting up that money. And, they're just saying, hey,
you know-
now they don't got to spend it.
That's the world's dumbest PR move because they were about to free the whale and get all this good publicity and PR. And instead they're like, oh, we'll just pretend she died from what was it? Liver failure?
Kidney.
Renal.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
kidney.
renal.
Kidney. Yeah. So I don't know about that conspiracy.
Well,
Everything's
yeah.
a conspiracy. They're saying
Now,
Hawaii.
let me just say.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So it was a nonprofit funded by the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, the football
that's
team.
right.
Uh-huh.
That was trying to do this relocation. But the reason that they said we'll relocate the animal, but it's going to take 12 to 18 months is because it was this like highly aspirational plan
Okay.
to build like an ocean pen off the coast of Washington State and
Hmm.
get her there. And it sounds like it was more of an idea than an actual plan. And that's why it was sort of like amorphous with the scheduling.
I see.
Yeah, but I mean, she was 57. How long do orcas normally live, Forrest?
Good question. I think I don't know the answer to that. I know they get old. I think I read somewhere that it's like human lives, so it's like up to 90, 100 years old.
Yeah, 80 to 90 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
In that there's that Alexander Mortensen book I've referenced a few times called Listening to Whales, where she basically just like lives with orcas and
Mm-hmm.
learns about them in an aquarium. It's an awesome book, and she references a few times like all of the similarities in orcas and people, and one of them is lifespan. But pretty crazy to think she was caught in 1970, long before any of us were born.
Dude.
And has been in the aquarium ever since with her 6 siblings or 5 siblings. She was one of 6.
Sold off to different aquariums.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Sorry, 6 were caught in 1970, and they all went different places. And I
They
think
all
it's
died,
believed,
except for her.
Except for her, right? That's what I was
Mhm.
about to say. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, dude, it's really sad. The sad thing for me is just, she was kept in a cage basically that takes for her 5 seconds to swim from side to side for 50 years. Could you imagine? I mean, like that's ludicrous. This is like an intelligent animal that is just kind of kept in this aquarium. I'm happy that they were going to release her, but are they still like, is this still a common practice?
It's certainly becoming less and less common, definitely in North America and Western countries. In Asian countries, it's still, or Eastern countries, I should say, it's still largely practiced. I mean, they love those things, but no,
Yeah.
it's becoming less and less common. It's interesting, to talk about how she was one of 6 that was caught and they all
Mhm.
died. That's not like a morbid, like, oh, what a bizarre thing. It's morbid, but that is how that used to go. So the expectancy for them to survive was about 1 in 6, I believe. Again, it's in that book I referenced. But so they would catch as many orcas as they could, knowing that 3/4 or more of them were just going to die, which is insane to think that they just go out, trap baby orcas, knowing most of them are going to die, and be like, oh, well, the ones that live will be cool in captivity. It's like,
Yeah, man.
it's like they're treating it like it's like scooping up a guppy out of a pond. It's
Edwin
crazy.
brings up a good point in our chat. So Lolita's cell was 80 feet long by 35 feet wide, which is the smallest tank of its kind in the entire United States.
Hmm.
Think about that.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
man.
sad.
It's dude, it's sad, man. If you read the backstory on this, she wasn't happy. I mean,
Yeah.
people that have seen her when she's not entertaining or doing things for food said that she's basically just depressed, hangs out floating upside down at the side of her tank. So, God God bless her. She's in a better place now. I wish she could have gotten out there and maybe see some siblings or
Oh, that's what she
something.
did? She just kind of sat there like that?
That's
Yep.
what she's just in this basically tiny ass. Imagine just being in your garage for your whole fucking life, dude.
That's pretty rough.
Well, you know, I talk regularly because of a project I'm working on for my TV job to a guy who's been on death row since 1983. So he's now in his 20th year in the same 3.5 foot by 10 foot cell, 23 hours a day.
Well, he
And,
probably deserves it though because he killed some people or something. Right?
he was 18. It was a crime of passion, but I like him.
Oh,
But yeah, I mean, that's basically the same thing, right? You picture a human in a 3.5 foot by 10 foot cell. At least they get an hour of yard time,
I was gonna
right?
say they go to the
Lolita's not getting that
yard and
hour.
exactly. They go to the yard and they have community activities and all the stimulation. And here's an animal that's equally as intelligent and has an entire different social structure that we've seen time and time again by studying them, that they require like very advanced socialization, and they speak their own language. Everything else has none of that.
dude,
Which
so
actually,
crazy.
it actually brings me to an interesting point, and we don't need to harp on this for too long, but people are so black and white when it comes to zoos and aquariums, and keep animals, don't keep animals. There's no middle ground, and it's really dumb because at the end of the day, I keep snakes. You guys know that. I keep
Yeah.
lots of animals. Snakes could not be happier in a 2 foot by 2 foot terrarium. They couldn't be
Right.
happier. They don't have to go anywhere. They can crawl in circles. They have no
All the
predators.
food they want.
They get fed regularly every 2 weeks. Life is great. They don't think it's a prison. They don't know any different. They think it's great. This animal is not the same. And that is, it's, I don't know why everything we do is so far one direction or the other. Everything is so divisive and there's no middle ground. But this is one of those things where people need to understand the middle ground. Should orcas be in captivity? No. Should all animals be out of captivity? Absolutely not. We need zoos and aquariums. They contribute tremendously to saving species, to breeding animals. It's an incredibly important thing, especially when you consider that orcas will travel up to 40 miles per day, right? And here's this thing living in an 80-foot long tank. Like that'll drive anything insane.
It's equivalent to torture, and I don't want to be like such a downer. I know you guys hate that, but
Really
it really does. It really does bum me out, and I'm sorry it's a bit of a downer, but people should feel a bit down about this bullshit. I'm sorry.
Well,
Go ahead, Pat.
you know what? This might be the last of it. If you think about it, there's no way that aquarium in our lifetime is going to flip the script and flip that narrative and get orcas again in that tiny little tank. So let this be a lesson. Let's look at the silver lining here. Let this be a lesson, things we shouldn't be doing. And, hopefully they can put some really nice tuna fish in that pool.
Does anybody know if so they're not obviously going out and still doing this practice? Well, I guess you kind of touched on it. They're still doing it in like some less developed countries where they'll go out and just grab like multiples and still do the same shit.
Yep.
Well, hopefully not here in fucking America, dude, because fuck that.
So according to sources, there's around 50,000 orcas estimated to be left in the wild in the world. Sure, there used to be a lot more, but hopefully none of them ever get caught and have to go live in a tank. And, maybe that's the bright side.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
And R.I.P. Lolita.
R.I.P. Taki or Toki.
It's Toki.
All right.
Takis is a delicious chip that's available at 7-Eleven.